Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today, as usual, man. You guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, stopping them from rewriting history and bending reality, guys. And in this video, I wanted to do a quick, brief video. Somebody had asked me something a while back, man, and I forgot. If you hear papers rustling, guys, I wrote something down, and I was trying to make sure that I got back to this person that had asked me about this video a while ago, maybe like a month or so ago, man. And like I said, I got sidetracked like I normally do. So please forgive me for not getting back on this video, and I'm trying to find it. And it was Michael Murphy 1227. And he asked about my all-time starting five. My all-time starting five. And we're going to talk about this video, guys. Real briefly, we're just going to talk about it on my all-time starting five. And like I said, I'm not going to do a long video on this. So thank you to Michael Murphy 1227. Like I said, he had asked me about this a while ago, and I completely forgot. I got sidetracked, and I had wrote this down. Also, forgive me. But thank you for your support. And once again, guys, shout out to all you guys out there, man. Like I said, I'm truly humble, man. Thank you, guys. And you guys know what to do, man. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys, like I said, man, shout out to Michael Murphy. Asked me about my all-time starting five. And, you know, I was thinking about this, and I think I've talked about this before. I don't remember if I have. I may have done it on like a Sunday show with my man Dart on Michael Jordan Fans of the Best. We might have done our favorite starting five, maybe, or something like that. But I did two lists here. I did my favorite players, right? Starting five of my favorite, you know, just bias, right? Guys that I just liked. That were my favorite players, right? The starting five of my favorite players. And then I did a starting five of, to me, who would be the number one player at each position. That starting five. So the number one point guard, the number one shooting guard, the number one small forward, the number one power forward, and the number one center of all time. If I had to put a number on these guys, I did that starting five. So let's start with, you know, my favorite players. Now, like I said, it's all biased, guys. This is not like, I'm not giving you guys any kind of like, you know, a breakdown here or any kind of historical, you know, perspective on this. This is literally just my favorite guys. And all this is biased. It's all from the 80s and 90s, guys that I grew up watching. That's all this is. There's no other eras. I'm not thinking about anyone. The guys I grew up watching, man, in the 80s and the 90s, I put in my all-time starting five. I've had to pick my favorite all-time starting five, guys. That's all this is. There's nothing based off of numbers, accolades, historical, none of this stuff. My favorite guys. So obviously at point guard, Magic Johnson, to me, like I said, after Michael Jordan, my favorite players growing up were Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, Dennis Rodman. Like, those are my favorite players, man. I read Dennis Rodman's book. Charles Barkley, to me, man, even to this day, man, his personality, the charisma, the swag of Charles Barkley, man, his attitude. I liked everything about Charles Barkley in the 80s and the 90s, man. He was one of my favorite players, man. So I'm going Magic Johnson at the point guard. At the shooting guard, I'm going Michael Jordan. Obviously, you guys know. It's just, I mean, do I have to say that? It's Michael Jordan all day, every day. The greatest player of all time, you know, according to me and to many people, believe Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. And like I said, guys, if you don't believe Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time, that's great. But I've told you guys, I do not believe, I've never heard an argument for Michael Jordan. I'm talking about a clear argument. Something that actually makes sense, not some made-up LeBron James fan argument. I'm talking about a legit argument. I haven't heard a case against Michael Jordan in favor of another player. I just haven't heard it. Other guys have resumes and things of that nature. But against Michael Jordan, I just don't see it. Not Wilt, not Kareem, not Bill Russell, not Magic, not Bird, not Tim Duncan, not LeBron James, not Kobe Bryant, not Jerry West, not Dr. J, Oscar Robertson, Shaquille O'Neal. You know, none of these guys who have an argument over Michael Jordan or a case over Michael Jordan, a better resume over Michael Jordan. So I'm obviously Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, that's the backcourt right there. Like I said, Magic Johnson, to me, when I tell you guys that Michael Jordan got the most out of his teammates, right? I feel like that Michael Jordan maximized his teammates more than anyone else in NBA's history. He galvanized his teammates the most. He squeezed every little ounce out of these guys. He squeezed everything out of Scott Burrell, out of Randy Brown, out of Steve Kerr, out of Luke Longley, out of Will Perdue, out of Stacey King, right? Out of Horace Grant, out of Scottie Pippen. right? Out of Bill Cartwright, out of Craig Hodges, out of Cliff Livingston. He squeezed everything he could out of those guys when they were on the team with him, right? Through practice, through like I said, building them up with the confidence, believing in them, and like I said, giving them a role and allowing them to shine in that role, not trying to cut the legs out from under them or any kind of thing like that. But when they talk about Michael Jordan maximizing his teammates, to me, it was Magic Johnson that made his team or made the game easier for his teammates than any other player in the history of the game. To me, Magic Johnson just made the game easier for everyone else around him. I mean, look at the 92 Dream Team, the way that Magic Johnson's able to play the game, like I said, and make it easier for everyone else. And this is what Magic Johnson would do on the basketball court with whoever he played with. It doesn't matter who he's playing with, guys. The way that he played the game, his approach, his flair, his style, his flash, right? His swag. That's Magic Johnson, the leadership of Magic Johnson. And not to mention, these are two of the greatest competitors in the history of the game, Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. Now, at my small forward position, you guys might be a little bit taken back by this, but once again, this will show you that I'm not a hater. I'm going with Scottie Pippen. I'm going with Scottie Pippen at the small forward position of my all-time, my favorite starting five guys. I'm going with Scottie Pippen. And why am I going with Scottie Pippen? Right? Oh, you talk about Scottie Pippen ain't that, and Scottie Pippen ain't this. No, I've been putting context and perspective behind Scottie Pippen. If you guys don't get that, then you didn't grow up in the 90s. You didn't watch it. That's how I know you didn't watch it, because you know I'm on the money with the Scottie Pippen talk. But I take Scottie Pippen because, well, Michael Jordan takes Scottie Pippen in his starting five, but I'm going to take Scottie Pippen because, to me, that's the greatest duo in NBA's history. And that dynamic between Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, that dynamic right there, man, like I said, is second to none. The defensive way that they can approach the game, you're talking about Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan on the defensive end, the approach, like I said, feeding off each other. Give me Scottie Pippen, man. All right? Scottie Pippen don't need the ball in his hands to dominate, right? He don't have to take a bunch of shots to be effective. So he could be out there, run the break with Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan on the wing. Right? Scottie Pippen could get easy baskets playing with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. And the defensive intensity, the effort, and like I said, the dynamic between them, man. At my power forward, I'm going with Charles Barkley. Like I told you, Charles Barkley, one of my favorite players growing up. To this day, Charles Barkley, one of my favorite players. Love Charles Barkley's game. Love his attitude. I have an attitude myself, but I always liked Charles Barkley's attitude. Like I said, I always liked his personality, his swag. Charles Barkley, to me, from like, I don't know, maybe like 86 to like 93, 87 to like 93, that's 6-7 years there, whatever you want to say. That dude was sensational. Charles Barkley, I mean, this dude was a freak athlete, man, when he came in the league. Go watch some video of Charles Barkley, like I said, in those first 5-6 years, man. This dude was doing all kinds of things. I mean, going coast to coast, grabbing rebounds, going coast to coast, and two-hand monster jamming on people. I mean, just craziness. Charles Barkley, man, underrated ball handler, you know what I'm saying, for his position. And developed a pretty decent jump shot later in his career. He could step out behind the three-point line, knock some shots down. But we all know about the rebounding prowess of Charles Barkley, the effort that he gave on the glass. Just a monster on the rebounds, man. A little bit undersized at that power forward position, but once again, he was stout down low. One of the great post-up players. Remember, they had to implement that rule and change the rule because of Charles Barkley and his post-up prowess. So I'm going to go with Charles Barkley. And then at my center position, I'm going to go with Hakeem Olajuwon. Really nothing needs to be said about Hakeem Olajuwon. Like I said, to me, the 90s, he's probably the best center of the 90s. I don't really think it's an argument. Maybe you can argue a David Robinson, a Patrick Ewing, but to me, it's Hakeem Olajuwon, guys. And I would go with him at the center position. When you talk about Hakeem Olajuwon's elite two-way play, one of the greatest two-way players in the history of the game. Like I said, he's arguably the greatest two-way center. Like I said, he's up there with guys like Will Chamberlain as far as two-way play. But like I said, when you talk about Olajuwon, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, you talk about the defensive abilities of those three guys. You're talking about three of the greatest defenders in the history of the game, and at their positions, arguably the greatest defenders at their positions in the history of the game. So that would be my favorite. Like I said, it's all biased, guys. It's 80s and 90s guys. I wasn't looking at anyone else. These are the guys I was going with. That's my favorite starting five of all time, guys. These are just the guys, like I said, that I liked and the dynamics, man. And then if I had to pick the greatest player each position for a starting five, I'm going to go, obviously, to me, Magic Johnson's the greatest point guard of all time. I don't think there's any debate with Matt. You know, sometimes you'll hear people say Steph Curry's a greater point guard. He's nowhere near a greater point guard than Magic Johnson. Let's just get there off the jump, right? Nowhere near that. And if you want to talk about him being a greater player than Magic Johnson, once again, I do not believe he's anywhere near a greater player than Magic Johnson. To me, Magic Johnson is easily a top 5, top 10 player. To me, Steph Curry is not a top 5 or a top 10 player. To me, Steph Curry is somewhere in that top 15, top 20 range. Somewhere in there. right? But I do not believe that Steph Curry is greater than Magic Johnson. I don't believe anyone has a case above Magic Johnson. So give me Magic Johnson. Obviously, Michael Jordan, the shooting guard. I do not believe Kobe Bryant has a case. Sometimes the Kobe Bryant fans, they get crazy with some of the things that they say. Kobe Bryant's not greater than Michael Jordan. He wasn't better than Michael Jordan. Anything. Oh, Kobe Bryant got better footwork. He was more skilled than Michael Jordan. It's a joke, man. He's not more skilled than Michael Jordan, man. All right, guys, let's just stop that. Michael Jordan was way more precise. He could score in a lot more precise manner than a Kobe Bryant. All right, Michael Jordan took better shot selection more consistently than Kobe Bryant. And on the defensive end, Michael Jordan was greater than Kobe Bryant. Not saying that he was miles ahead of him, but he was just greater. It's not a knock on Kobe. It's Michael Jordan. My small forward, I'm going Larry Bird. To me, it's easily no-brainer. Larry Bird's the greatest small forward of all time. You guys know I've talked about that many times on the channel. I've done videos on Larry Bird versus LeBron James. Not even close, man. And to me, after Larry Bird, Dr. J. So I'm going with Larry Bird at the small forward position, man. And really, guys, to be honest with you, if I wasn't going to go over 80s and 90s players for my favorite players in the starting five, I would put Dr. J over Scottie Pippen. Just favorite. I would just put Dr. J as my favorite small forward. To me, you guys don't have Dr. J in my top 10. Not many people do. But I know Dr. J. I respect Dr. J and the icon, like I said, the swag, the influence of a Dr. J and what he meant to the game. And instead of his overall game that people don't trust. People out there thinking Dr. J was dunking the ball. That ain't true, man. But I would probably put him as my favorite if I wasn't being biased, like I said, guys, and put Pippen there. I would put Dr. J there. And Tim Duncan, the power forward, really no argument there. Tim Duncan, right? I mean, like I said, you could argue if you want to argue a Charles Barkley, a Karl Malone, a Bob Pettit, a Kevin Garnett, but give me Tim Duncan. And that Wilt Chamberlain, I would have Wilt Chamberlain at the center position. To me, Wilt's the greatest center. If I had to name a greatest center, I would go with Wilt Chamberlain, man. So I would be Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, and Wilt Chamberlain for the best player at each position, starting five. So these are my starting fives. They're a little bit different. Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan are the standards, of the constants. They ain't going nowhere because they're one of my favorite players, and they're the greatest players at their position. Those are just the facts, man. So once again, shout out to Michael Murphy, 1227 for asking me this, guys. Maybe you guys have some other players that your favorite players. Maybe you grew up in the 2000s and you have some favorite players in the 2000s, and maybe you grew up in the 70s and some of your favorite players are from the 70s. What was your favorite starting five? That was my favorite, and maybe you guys have the same players at the greatest of each position like I do. Maybe you have someone else, not Wilt. Maybe you got someone else, not Tim Duncan. Maybe you got someone else besides Larry Bird. Maybe you got someone else besides Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan. I don't know who you could have, but maybe you do, man. You guys know the deal, man. These are the facts here, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one.